Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Golic and Wingo rolling through a Friday morning. Glad you're here with us. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic Jr. on ESPN Radio or ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And we are presented by Shell. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold.
So we got a couple of questions out there on that social media thing out on Twitter.
That social media thing.
That social media thing.
As we have another person forget to turn on their mic. Yeah. What's the body count been for the mic in the first few weeks? Jesus.
But you know what? Before anybody knew it, I turned it on so nobody would have known it until you just didn't sell me out.
I like to peel back the curtain here.
I appreciate that.
Read more
much.
From the social media.
At Golic and Wingo, we have a couple of questions out there with Star Wars The Last Jedi premiering this weekend. We're asking what is the and people no doubt stayed out overnight in some places to get tickets to this. What event would you stay out all night to buy tickets for? Could be any event, anything you would spend all night out waiting to get tickets for, and then along the lines of the premiere, what's the last premiere you went to as an adult? We went to post-college. As a supposed adult, what's the last premiere you went to? I'm really getting some great feedback. The Thug Pastor, I love that one.
Wait, what's that Twitter handle?
Thug Pastor.
Okay.
Yeah. He stayed in line for 16 hours in the rain for NSYNC tickets for my daughter's 10th birthday present.
Well, kudos to him.
That's impressive.
That's a good dad.
That's an ovation.
That's
an O. That's an O, right, Stan? That's an ovation.
It's also a great pick. I mean, as someone who went to a Backstreet Boys concert not too long ago, the boy band concert experience really is
worked out well. Dustin said he would sleep outside for Browns Super Bowl tickets.
Well, wow. I can understand why you would.
How about that?
I can understand why you would.
And then the last premiere Kevin said he went to was Pulp Fiction.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a little while ago.
Right, we talked about spoilers, too, right? Because of the Herm story. Herm, Tempe, kill it. We love you. We miss you. Lisa writes in, I saw The Last Jedi last night. Phenomenal. As for spoilers, she says 5 to 7 day spoiler ban. Let's not ruin it for the kids.
I would think you got to wait at least a week. Yeah. I would think wait till after next weekend.
At least,
right?
Especially for movies, because we talk about with television all the time, especially when it came up with Herm's Game of Thrones spoiler, that with premieres and season finales, it's like a 24-hour period. You're responsible to see it. With movies, it's different. People got a lot of life that gets in the way of going and spending 2 hours plus at a theater for something like this.
And then there's Kyle, who wanted to throw a little bit of levity in early in the morning here.
Well, we were trying, so we couldn't, so maybe he can.
Let's see if this worked for Kyle.
Please.
I once went to a Star Trek movie. It wouldn't be Star. He got that wrong because he said he was dressed as Chewbacca, so that would be a Star Wars movie, Kyle. Let's start with that. I once went to a Star Wars movie premiere dressed as Chewbacca. It was a Wookiee mistake.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Hey-o!
You know the Star Trek portion of that was part of the joke, right?
Yeah. By the way, speaking of
no.
Speaking of spoilers,
the crew is up in arms right now at the way you buy. I mean, poor Ray back there.
I don't think Kyle's that smart.
No. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I don't think Kyle's that smart.
actually Ray's pen name, so joke's on you.
6:32 and 50 seconds on the East Coast. Golic fires shots at somebody.
There
All
you
right,
go.
Good to go.
Wow.
By
poor
the way,
Kyle.
Let's talk about spoiler alerts. Do you remember the movie The Sixth Sense?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't see that movie till after over a year after it was out, and somehow the ending never got to me.
That he was dead?
That he was dead the whole time.
Whoa.
And for those that haven't seen it, sorry I'm spoiling it for you.
Sorry.
From 1998.
Yeah.
Okay? But I went a year later, and I was like,
really?
What the heck just happened? How that stayed away from me, I have no idea all that time.
That is pretty amazing because, that was one of the big ones.
I mean, there was basically no internet at that point. It was either like dial-up or that kind you see on the black screen. It's just green letters. Original internet didn't really have spoiler
capability. We were all
capability.
talking about it in the newsroom.
Right. It was word of mouth.
Never got to me.
By the way, speaking of spoiler-ish things with Pulp Fiction, heard an interesting note on the SportsCenter note from Levitard show yesterday. Every time John Travolta goes to the bathroom in Pulp Fiction, something bad happens.
Oh, no.
The exact opposite, actually. Someone might get their wings because they might be dead, but every time he goes to the bathroom in that movie, something bad happens.
A reason to watch the film again.
Look it up. It's in a book.
That is interesting.
So let's get in. Let's try and right.
Let's do a sport.
Let's do a sport thing.
Steer it back.
Okay. Sports.
Yep.
The sports.
The Cleveland Browns are the first team in NFL history to start 2 seasons back-to-back 0-13.
Yep.
Okay, they're still looking for their first win as they take on the Ravens this weekend. And the new GM, John Dorsey, was refreshingly candid when talking about why he thinks the team is struggling.
You got to get a guy like that players. And you know what? I'll come straight out with it. You know what? The guys who were here before that system, they didn't get real players. And I think, as Bill Parcells would always say, you are your record. And you know what? There it is. So that's the truth teller in this thing. And I'm going to do my darndest to get Hugh players. And that's all I can ask for, and that's all I'm going to do. I like the man.
All right, that was on WKNR where he made those comments. And some people are upset with that, and I don't understand why.
Well, I mean, the idea of what he's saying, I get. He probably – listen, I've always said this since the day I got a microphone put in my face is I never believe in talking outside the locker room. And while that really wasn't, the one line that is about getting real players. To me, there's really no need to throw that shot out there publicly. But as far as what he was saying, listen, the truth hurts tough. You know, you were 0-13 2 years in a row. So I get that he has his work cut out for him, and he's got to get Hugh the right players, the right mix of players for it to work. That was the only thing that kind of, I don't need to hear that publicly, that Sashi didn't get, the right players, or they need to get real players. That's a little shot that I don't need to hear publicly. I'm kind of a little funny that way, where I don't need to hear that coming out of the locker room.
Yeah, I'm totally out on this. And listen, John Dorsey, great draft record when him and Andy Reid were together in Kansas City. Yeah. A lot of those guys that they pulled up were starters for those teams, multiple Pro Bowlers, either as starters or alternates. Has a great track record with that. But it's not like the guys that Cleveland brought in were other dreck. I mean, the top end of the draft. Are we ready to call Myles Garrett and Jabril Peppers bust? They've got plenty of depth on that D-line that they drafted. They signed that offensive line that we were all really high on. Kevin Zeitler in that great contract. J.C. Treader. They drafted Joel Bitonio and kept him there. Joe Thomas has already been there. They got a great receiver back. Corey Coleman's been making progress. Yeah. Stop me when you've gotten to the players that can't become something. How does Hugh Jackson keep skating blame in all this?
Look,
because that's what this seems like it's about.
Well, there's two things there. First of all, Hugh Jackson's not skating blame, but John Dorsey knows he's stuck with Hugh Jackson. I mean, let's be clear. The owner has already said Hugh Jackson's coming back
next year.
And the hiring process went, you need to understand you're with Hugh Jackson, okay? Because that's not going to change. That came from Jimmy Haslam. So that part I understand. As for the players, some of the players you said, they're okay. But let's go through the Cleveland Browns first-round draft picks since 2011. This is the 27 Yankees of horrible drafting. In other words, they're so bad, they're the best bad drafters of all kind. 2011, Phil Taylor, defensive lineman out of Baylor, not on the team.
Right.
2012, Trent Richardson, Brandon Whedon. I think we all know how that went.
Yeah.
2013, Barkevius Mingo. He just got his first sack of the year last night in the Thursday night game for the Colts. 2014, Justin Gilbert. Not on the team, maybe not in the league. Johnny Manziel, same thing.
Right.
2015, they got Danny Shelton, who's been fair at best. They got Cameron Erving, who's a center that they tried to play a tackle. Now he's back at center, and he's okay. Corey Coleman,
he's gone.
Yeah. Well, he's in Kansas City now.
Right.
He's in Kansas City now. Corey Coleman from Baylor University has been fair. Now, I'm not gonna judge this draft class yet because they haven't played a full season. Myles Garrett looks like the real deal. Jabril Peppers still doesn't really have a position, and Njoku has been average at best. So I'm not. You are what you are, man, and they have not drafted the right players. And I got no problem with him saying that because at some point those players that are there got to be a little angry about that and step up and play better.
Well, I don't think John Dorsey saying that is going to all of a sudden make them play better.
But also, by the way, with Sashi Brown, was he the GM for all of those drafts?
No, he was
because
not.
Because last I checked, he was only responsible for 2016. So he's talking about Sashi Brown. He's not talking about this organization. You chose to disparage one man who set you up in a position that we all talked about is about as enviable as any in the NFL going into the draft this season.
Only if they get it right, which is the thing they haven't done.
Good luck to John Dorsey then. You better nail this if you're going to come out talking all this you-know-what.
And to Mike's point, and you mentioned a lot of players from drafts ago, and I get it, but that's not what Dorsey was talking about. Dorsey was talking about Sashi Brown. and the guys he brought in. And some of those guys that we mentioned are still playing, and you have to give them the benefit of the doubt going a little further. So to your point, yes, they have screwed up a lot. But when he was talking about one guy in Sashi Brown, to me, it just went a little too far. You want to say that behind closed doors? I don't care if you get up in front of the team and say that. That's fine by me.
Amen.
But you know what? This one guy has barely been there, and now all of a sudden, he's the guy not getting real players for the Browns. I thought it was a little much.
I guess to this point, and Trey, what you said, you understand you're stuck with Hugh Jackson for right now, It seems.
Yeah.
If the only way you can prop your guy up is by cutting somebody else down, that says a lot about your guy.
Well, look, I think you guys are reading way too much into this. They haven't developed and gotten a ton of players. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with Bill Parcells saying that. I don't think there's anything wrong with Bill Belichick saying those kind of things. Look, at the end of the day, players have to perform. And if those players don't perform, you'll get new players. That's the way it goes. It
just seems like this is about a quarterback, and he's using it to indict the rest of these players, some of which are NFL players. The fact that they haven't gotten a quarterback. You can say he hasn't gotten him a real quarterback, but looking at making an indictment of the whole process.
To that point,
seems like a blanket
Sashi
statement.
Brown was the one who said they didn't think Carson Wentz was
he blew that one. There's no doubt about it.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. We roll on Golic and Wingo. Glad you're with us on ESPN Radio or ESPN2. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic Jr. And you want to talk about straight talk? There was nobody cooler in the history of the NBA or had more swag than our next guest. Mm-hmm. And we are delighted to be joined by the good doctor himself, Julius Erving, Dr. J. Basketball Hall of Famer, joins us now on Golic and Wingo as part of our ESPN All Access today with the Philadelphia 76ers. Julius, thanks so much for being with us. It must be a lot of fun for you as a 76er alum to see suddenly the tide turning for this team after all these years of trust the process. How much joy are you getting out of what you're seeing on the floor from this young squad right now?
Well, I'll tell you, the happiness that I'm experiencing is kind of hard to explain. Watched the team play half a dozen times this year. They're getting the TV games. They're a commodity. They're not only fun to watch, but I mean they really look legit on the court. Like each and every night, they're like a real threat, and I'm happy about that. But before we go any further, I was listening to the previous chatter about Bethpage Black, and just in terms of one little tip about Bethpage Black, fellas, when you're in the rough over there, don't look at degree. Just take a wedge and get it. Just take a wedge and get it out. Just get it back in the fairway and then go for the green.
Oh, he's exactly right. There's a sign at Bethpage Black that says, "Warning: this is a very, very difficult golf course. If you're not an expert single handicapper, don't even think about it." I mean, that's how brutal this course is.
Yeah. Adjust your expectations. You just go ahead and prepare to take that bogey or that double bogey.
That's when I just pick the ball up and throw it out of the rough. Julius, you were one of the great athletes, not only great basketball player, but one of the great athletes to play this game. So when you see the guy like a Joel Embiid, the size of him and what he's doing, a point guard in Ben Simmons at 6'10" and what he's doing, how does that look to you, that evolution of athletic ability of players in the NBA?
Yeah, well, I'm just glad that they're on our team. When we really think about it, I mean, Simmons is a lot like Magic Johnson, a lot like LeBron James. And, everybody says that, he just has an unbelievable upside that makes him comparable with those guys in terms of, these first 24 games or 25 games or what have you. And his start is as good as all of those guys, including Oscar Robertson. We were talking about that last night when I was over at TNT. And then Joel, Brett Brown was always saying, he says, I might have the best center in the league, once my kid gets healthy. And I was a little skeptical because I had never seen him play, and I didn't see him play when he was at Kansas. But it's every bit the truth. I mean, Joel is one of those guys, irrepressible because he fuels the fire, and he knows his basketball IQ. Simmons and Joel both, have extremely high basketball IQs. They know that you have to move the ball, that you have to move your body, that you have to, make things happen. And you got to make your teammates better to make you better. I mean, you're always going to be the go-to guy at the end of the day, but it takes 12 to win the game.
No, Julius, I know you've said you've been to about half a dozen games this season. Have you had a chance to visit with either of those guys in this team at all? And is there anything that you would say to them advice-wise in this young season while they're kind of learning their way through this?
Well, I've seen a half a dozen games. I haven't been to any games yet. So my first game will be January 3rd. So I'll be in Philly January 3rd and January 5th for the San Antonio game. And I think they play Indiana on the 5th. But so I haven't been to any games yet. So I've been, armchair quarterbacking. And if I could answer your question from, sitting in a seat and looking, somebody definitely has been communicating the right story, and I think it's Coach Brown.
Well, he certainly has. And one of the things that makes this team interesting besides Embiid is the length they have at point guard with Ben Simmons.
What time it is?
It's 6:51.
Yeah. Okay. No, my wife is saying we got to go, and I know we're set up to go off at 6:53.
Okay.
So,
we in the 1 minute we have left with you, just want to make sure. What do you think of the way Ben Simmons is playing a point guard, 6'10"? It's sort of a difference maker with a guy like that.
Yeah, and the other irony is, he's averaging 17 points a game, and he's not shooting any three balls. He's not jacking it up. He really doesn't take bad shots, unless you consider, going inside and going left or going right from 4 or 5 feet and missing, a bad attempt. But there is no bad shot when you're attacking the hole the way that he does. So I think he's going to eventually expand his game, but he doesn't have to expand it right now. He's having a huge impact, as it is. I remember with Maurice Cheeks, everybody used to always, try to tell Maurice Cheeks he needs to shoot the ball. He needs to shoot the ball, and eventually, he got a little set shot going, then he got a jump shot going, and then eventually, became a double-figure scorer consistently and a threat. But those are things that were a part of a process, and it took him a while to do that from that point position, because you do want your point guard to score, and there's nothing wrong with the numbers that Ben is getting right now.
No question. Hey, Dr. J, we really appreciate you being with us. We know you got to catch a flight, so thanks for stopping by. Right. Always love watching the play. The author of the greatest layup in the history of the NBA.
There you go.
1980 finals against the Lakers.
Right. Thanks, Doc.
Up there on the backboard.
Hey,
thanks, Dr. J. You got
it.
Absolutely. Dr. J, never a bad time to have Julius on the show.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Now let's bring in the man, the myth. He's just the man. He's there's no myth to him. He's a rock solid guy.
Yes,
Stugotz from the Dan Levitard Show joins us. Yeah, you are. Despite contrary to popular opinion, you are. It's like you're a good guy. We're all three good-looking guys. That's from the old movie The Sure Thing. Look it up, kids. Watch it. You'll like it.
By the way, Stugotz, can I ask you real quick? I love Sims coming on, Chris Sims coming on and breaking down the quarterbacks. He's really coming on every day and breaking down the last 60 of these quarterbacks. He's great. He's hilarious, and I think it's cool what you're doing. But he's going all the way down, huh? Going to make this countdown all the way?
Yeah, well, he started, Blake Bortles, he announced that Blake Bortles was the 70th best quarterback on his list, and we thought it'd be funny to get the, 1 through 69 since he threw Bortles out as number 70. So, yeah, today we get number 60 from Sims today, and yes, he will be on for the next 60 days, giving us his top quarterbacks in the NFL. The countdown is on.
I gotta say, look, I'm not saying that Blake Bortles will win you multiple Super Bowls, but I think he's actually better than 70th now, isn't he? I mean, he's coming off. We looked this up the other day on NFL Live. He's coming off back-to-back games with multiple touchdowns and no interceptions for only the second time in his career. So I think he's kind of trending upwards.
He is. And listen, he has Nathan Peterman ranked ahead of Blake Bortles. And
I can't go there.
I try. The list is insane. So we're going to mock Sins. We asked him yesterday, like, there is there's potential here where Blake Bortles is holding up a Super Bowl trophy, and Chris Sims is going to have to go back and revise this list and apologize to Blake Bortles for putting C.J. Beathard ahead of him on his list.
C.J.
Really, Beathard.
Yeah. Hey, I don't care who the quarterbacks are. It's fun. What he's doing is pretty cool, and he's guaranteeing himself a spot on your show for at least the next 60 days. So that helps us.
Yes, Golic, you're right. He knows what he's doing, Golic. He's promoting that podcast. He knows exactly what he's doing. Yes.
Exactly right.
He's giving us what he wants. Yes, and we're giving him what he wants.
All right, the NBA gave us what we all wanted last night, Stugotz. Isn't it what you wanted? The first meeting between LeBron James and Lonzo Ball before they become teammates, right?
Why, Mike, you don't think they're going to become teammates?
No.
Do you think that LeBron's going to stay in Cleveland?
Yeah,
Is that what you think?
Yes, I do. I do think he would do that before he goes to L.A., yes.
See, now, Mike, I'm with you on L.A. The L.A. part of this is strange. I don't think he's going to stay in Cleveland, but to go and play with Lonzo Ball and Brendan Ingram and those guys, I don't think it's enough in L.A. for LeBron to win titles. And at this point, that's all he cares about is tacking on titles to his resume. So I'm with you on the Lakers, unless somehow he is having conversations with, Paul George's and Carmelo Anthony's, and I still don't think that's enough to get past the Golden State Warriors and the Rockets. I could see him going somewhere, though, like Philadelphia or the Houston Rockets. It's going to depend on whether the Rockets win a title this year, because if they don't, then LeBron can go there and say he's the reason that they won the title. But I think there is zero chance that he is coming back to Cleveland next year, Mike. There is zero chance.
Why do you say,
Cleveland fan in you, man. That's the bias. That's the bias coming out in you.
No, it's not the Cleveland fan in me, Stugotz. They're in the finals every year. So why would he stop going to the final? If he can still have a team around him to go to the finals, I know it's going to be tough to win. I certainly get that. Why do you chance that by going somewhere else when all he's about right now is championships?
Mike, he's getting to the finals, you're right, but he's usually losing with Cleveland when he gets to the finals. And at this age, I can't believe it. I am shocked that LeBron has played in every game. He is playing this many minutes. He is carrying the load still this much on the team. And, Mike, those are the reasons. Like LeBron having to play 40 minutes a night and give you nearly a triple-double every single night just so your team has a chance to beat the Lakers, who aren't very good. That's the reason. I think it's become too hard for him, and he wants to go to a place where maybe it's easier, where maybe he can play 30 minutes a night and kind of cruise through the regular season and then, pick up his game and pick up the minutes in the postseason. And that's what he can do if he's playing with Embiid and Simmons in Philadelphia or Harden and Chris Paul in Houston. I can't imagine he's going to stay there with Kevin Love, with a team that's aging, and Isaiah Thomas is going to be a free agent after this season.
Right. I get what you're saying there, but that also means that LeBron won't be the dude. Okay. And one of the reasons Kyrie left because he wanted to be the dude in Boston, and it's working out well for him. Can we see a scenario in which the ball doesn't go through LeBron? Because one of the reasons that Kyrie left was he wanted to have more to say in how this goes. And the way he's playing and at the high level he's playing, I understand what you're saying about resting, but if he's playing this well being the dude, why would he want to go somewhere where he's not the dude?
Well, Trey, are we saying that LeBron James is not the dude anywhere he goes, even if he went to Houston?
You just said, Brett, play 30 minutes and sort of coast through the regular season.
Yeah, but he's still the dude. It's just an easier path for him. It's just an easier load for him to kind of carry there. But he's still the guy. It's still LeBron James. I think he's looking for maybe at this point in his career, he's going to be 35 years old. Maybe he's just looking for an easier path, a place where he can play, 30 to 35 minutes and not the 40 minutes that he's playing right now. And he doesn't have to be on every single night for them to win a game, which he has to be right now. I'm just thinking maybe there's an easier combination for him, Trey. I still think, listen, he goes to Philadelphia, he's the dude, right? There's no question about it. He might not play 40 minutes, it might be 32 a night, and he'll have nights where he plays 40 to 45, but he's still the guy, right? It's LeBron James. It's the best player in the world.
I tell you, it would be intriguing to see him with Embiid and with Ben Simmons. That would be something to see. We'll see down the road. Let's move on.
That would be a process you would trust.
There's a process. Let's stay in the NBA. We saw Oklahoma City go to to Indiana, where Paul George had his first return to the Pacers, got booed, introduction, booed every time he touched the ball. They're going to go play the Knicks. That means Melo's going back to the Garden, and certainly a different situation. Paul George says, I'm not playing here. I'm going to be gone, so do with me what you will. Carmelo tried to hang around there for a while. It wasn't him that was looking bad a lot in the situation that was going on. Then he does end up eventually agreeing to leave. How do you think he gets treated when he goes back to the Garden?
I mean, Mike, it doesn't matter what he did, right? I mean, we're going back to New York. These are Knicks fans, right? And they are mad. Knicks fans are just mad, not because of Carmelo Anthony, just because of the totality of the last 20 years of Knicks basketball. He's going to get booed. I know Phil Jackson was a guy that took the brunt of it over the last couple of years, but the reality is Carmelo came there, and what came with him are all sorts of expectations that were just never met. And because of that, Knicks fans are going to boo him. And here's the thing that I think drives Knicks fans crazy, and I'm one of them. Carmelo, in that final year in Denver, could have just sat there and played out the season. But no, he demanded the trade, and the Knicks had to trade basically their entire roster at the time to get Carmelo Anthony, where he could have just sat in Denver, waited, and then signed with the Knicks in the offseason, and they could have kept all of those guys, Gallinari and Wilson Chandler and all those guys. I'm not saying it would have made a difference, but Knicks fans are kind of upset about that. And then he just didn't meet the expectations. That's it. That's the bottom line. And therefore, he's headed back to Madison Square Garden. He's headed back to a place that is frustrated with the Knicks organization over the last 15 to 20 years. He's going to get booed in a big, big way tonight. There will be no standing ovation for Carmelo Anthony.
Much in the same way.
And there shouldn't be.
Yeah, much in the same way Paul George got torched when they went back to Indiana. Okay, let's move on to baseball. And obviously it's been an interesting start for Derek Jeter as the face of the Marlins franchise. I get it. He's not really he's the one that they're asking to make all these decisions. And are you still mad at Jeter for how this thing is going down?
Not nearly as mad as Dan is, because Miami and the Marlins mean more to Dan than they do to me. I love the city. I've been down here for 20 years. I don't particularly love the organization. I'm just not a fan of Marlins baseball. I do feel bad on behalf of the city of Miami. I mean, guys, this goes back a long way. This is the third or fourth time they've torn down the team. And so we're just lashing out at Derek Jeter. And I'm not even certain Derek Jeter is the main problem here. You can look back at the past ownership group. You can look at Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball for allowing this sale to go through, knowing Derek Jeter was going to strip the team apart, which doesn't sit well with a lot of people down here. But you got to go back to 97 when Wayne Huizinga owned the team and they won a world championship, and he spent a lot of money to win that world championship with guys like Gary Sheffield. And they traded away the entire team, and they won it in 2003. And then traded away that team, and the promise was, whether it was in writing or not, the promise was, hey, you guys, Miami, build this stadium for us on the heels of taxpaying dollars, and, we'll have a stadium, and we will spend the proper amount of money to keep this team relevant and to keep this team competitive. And here we are. New ownership group. We thought it'd be a celebratory time down here, especially with Derek Jeter. That was a really cool thing at the start. Wow, Derek Jeter owns the Miami Marlins. That's really cool. One of the all-time greats. And it's just gone the other way. He hasn't made a single right decision since he took over the ownership of the Marlins. Trey, I'm wondering, as a Yankee fan, because has this changed? Has he changed at all in your eyes, Trey? Because what he's doing here is not right, Trey. Taking pieces like Stanton and trading him to the Yankees and trading away Ozuna and trading these guys for next to nothing, and just the way he's gone about his business down here, where he's not talking to anyone, he's not showing up to the owners' meetings. Trey, as a Yankee fan, because I know you love him, has it changed the way you view Derek Jeter?
So let me get this straight. You're asking me as a Yankee fan if I'm upset that Giancarlo Stanton is now at the Yankees.
I'm asking you, well, no, I'm not asking you that. That is a touche, Trey. Touche. I am asking you if you're upset about how he's treating the city of Miami. Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, Trey. I think that.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I think that Marlin fans probably were hoping that this would be different instead of lather, rinse, repeat for a third time.
Right.
But this is interesting, Stu, because, Jeter went through his time in New York as the golden child. Everything worked.
Right.
He, the guy that said, don't worry, these ghosts will wake up here eventually, and then he hits the home run to win the game in the World Series. It was an unfettered run. I'm curious to see how he responds, because this is the first time really there's ever been a knock against this guy, and you're right, he's not in his comfort zone. But if you're asking me as a Yankee fan, if I'm okay with Giancarlo Stanton.
You're thrilled.
Yeah, I'm good with that, just so you know.
Yeah, because you own two major league teams. Isn't that nice? You just, hey, we need a player. Let's trade him up to New York. Like, Trey, let's do it this way. All right, because now you'll get mad this way, I think. I hope. David Ortiz, okay, Red Sox great. He is allowed ownership. Doesn't have enough money. He's going to pay himself $5 million a year, and he's allowed to own the Minnesota Twins, let's just say. And what he uses the Twins for is he uses them as a vehicle to trade whatever the Red Sox need back to the Red Sox. Wouldn't that make you upset? I mean, come on, Trey, think about that. David Ortiz is taking plays from the Twins and giving them to the Red Sox.
I get it. I get what you're saying, but the premise was, as a Yankee fan, are you upset? And I'm like, no, I'm not at all.
Yeah, you should be thrilled. You should be the happiest baseball fan on earth right now.
This
really
guy.
Should.
I don't know why. I personally, to end this one, and before I move on, I don't know why one Marlins fan would put on a Marlins jersey and pay money to go watch that team this year. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
All right, we got a beef stew for you, but we got a little sound before it. In May, you guys on the Le Batard Show, you guys ordered 2 pair of the Zo2s. They finally came this week, but there was an issue.
Yes, just in time for the holidays. Order in May. Can I get a picture of the shoes we ordered? Because they're different shoes.
Of course they're different shoes. They're low-top shoes, black. They got Lonzo's number on the side there, number 3.
Before I open this box here, on whatever it is LeVar Ball sent us for, what was this, $1,000? Was it $1,000? We bought $1,000 worth of shoes. And now the shoes are here.
There we go. I'm
pulling one out.
Oh.
And here is the Big Baller brand.
That's
right
a different
there.
shoe. That is a different shoe.
It's a different shoe, yes.
It's a higher top. It's not what I ordered.
So you guys didn't get what you ordered, talked about it on air. So do you have a bigger beef that it took 7 months to get there, or they sent you the wrong shoes?
Oh, I'm glad because, listen, it was Dan's money, so I don't care. I'm glad they sent them the wrong shoes, so I'm good with that.
What if it was your money? If it was your money, what would you be mad at?
Can we play the David Ortiz argument?
Yeah.
But this was your money.
It's your money.
This is your money, Stu.
If it was my money, yes, I'd be upset that I got the wrong shoes. Really what we're upset about is that we got those for listeners. That those are shoes that we're giving to listeners, and they were expecting the originals, and now they're getting that. But that's what happens when you're running a shoe operation out of the basement of your house. I mean, that's it. And you're the only employee. I mean, that's it. What else can you do? I mean, so I guess, listen, at least we got the shoes. But Dan is right, if you heard it in that clip. If you want to get these for the next holiday season, next Christmas, you should order them right now.
Because there may be a backup. There may be a backup. The other thing is, if there's only one employee, there's really no one else to blame, right? It can only fall on one person.
Right. Yeah, Trey, we wanted to call customer service, but who? We're calling LeVar Ball is who we're calling in the basement of his
You might
house.
be on hold for a while when he's in Lithuania.
Yes, that's exactly right.
For that.
Yes.
All right, Stu, we appreciate it. Thanks
Stu.
very much.
See you, man.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
Trey, what do we call Fridays now? What are we calling it? What are the kids calling it? Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, I don't care what we call it as long as you're playing golf at 2:30 this afternoon and have a drink in your hand. Okay?
There it is, my friend. The secret sauce. All right, Stu. We'll see you on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz a little bit later.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
Steelers reporter Jeremy Fowler and Tom Brady talking about the big matchup this week. And if we got the big matchup, we got to bring in the big man, ladies and gentlemen. Damien Woody is here with us, 2-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time Pro Bowler, and honestly, a guy who breaks down film in the football as well as anybody else because he knows it starts up front. And let's start right there, Damien, with this matchup, which everybody can see thinks is probably going to be for home field advantage in the AFC. Pittsburgh hosting New England, although Jacksonville is still in the mix because of a tiebreaker situation they have with Pittsburgh. The front line for the New England Patriots has been a problem this season. Mm-hmm. Now they go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, second only to Jacksonville in sacks with 41 on the year. Marcus Cannon, their right tackle, put on injured reserve. We saw what happened to Fleming on the Monday night game where they got after Tom Brady and hit him a bunch of times. I think they only sacked him twice. What's the biggest concern for the Patriots? Is it their defense against the Steelers' high-powered offense, or can they protect Brady?
I think it's can they protect Brady, because Brady, Brady's not like Aaron Rodgers type of guy who can get out of the pocket and make things happen outside the pocket. Clearly, what you've seen from Pittsburgh is they've really invested on that side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, especially in the front seven. You got T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree. They got some couple guys in the interior that can push the pocket, and I think that's going to be the key to the game. We always talk with Brady. You got to get him off the spot. He doesn't really feel like the edge around him. You got to get guys pressuring him up the middle. And I think what you're going to see from Pittsburgh, they're going to mix up with some blitz, but a lot of those line stunts to kind of simulate that pressure at the middle, because that's when you can force a guy like Brady to make mistakes.
I wonder during a week like this.
Hold on.
Wait, we got to put the ball.
Hold on. Can we do that again?
I heard that like a couple times. Is this like a?
Oh, we're
like
horrible.
Play
that again. Play that.
They gave us a choice when this started in the other studios. I was with Greeny. It was just basically.
So it's my fault. Thanks a lot.
No.
Thanks a lot.
We're in this studio, and you can manually turn them on and off. And they asked us. They said, "Do you guys want to turn your own mics on or off, or do you want us to do it?" And we're grown adults.
Right.
We're grown men. We can turn our own mics on and off. Obviously, we can't. But we're going to continue to do it because it makes for great fodder. What I was trying to say was, for a big, what is considered a monster game here, right, with New England and Pittsburgh, how does Bill Belichick treat a week like this? While we all, and players know it too, you know what game may have more meaning than another, but how does Bill deal with it from week to week, whether you're going to play a winless Cleveland one week and then this for home field advantage possibly the next week?
You know, I think like anyone who follows the Patriots, you always kind of get a clue, like when Bill Belichick has his like pressers, literally he treats everyone the same. The way he, exudes like all the great. This is a great team. Even if they're playing the Cleveland Browns, he'll find a lot of different ways to kind of spotlight positives about a team, because he doesn't want his guys to get overconfident. He wants everybody to be focused.
Don't players see through that, though? I mean, you're sitting there, and he's trying to tell you why this 0-13 Cleveland Brown defense is going to give you guys trouble who have 2 or 3 losses on the year. And I get it, because you don't want to take anybody softly, but is there a part that says, man, okay, how much can I buy into this?
It's a great Jedi mind tricks. Obviously, it plays
well played.
But what happens is the way he reinforces it, man, I'm telling you, you don't want to be in those film sessions, because I don't care if you're playing a 0-13 Browns. Like, he will bring down the thunder on you if you're not on top of your game in those film sessions. And it's the same every week. And I think that's one of the things that made Coach Belichick so great, is that he doesn't try to deviate depending on who the opponent is. He is the same guy, and he prepares the team the same way every single week. And that's why those guys come out so laser focused regardless of who the opponent is.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because Mike Tomlin has sort of taken the exact opposite approach here.
Which is surprising.
He started, I think, after the Packers game, alluding to, hey, now we got this showdown in a couple of weeks. It was almost like his team needed to hear it, and this is what he had to say finally now that the matchup is here.
I love it. It's good to be in big games. It's better to be in big games than ones that nobody's watching. We better be appreciative of this spot and not resist it in any way, but embrace it, because this is what we've been fighting for since March. To be in these type games against these type people, why would you fight that?
It's just, I get that's how everyone feels, but why? It just seems, I don't know, it just seems so counterintuitive, right? Bell is like, hey, it's a game. We're on to Cincinnati.
Right.
This is the next game. He's been talking about this game for 3 weeks now, and the problem is when you do that, and let's say you don't win, what's the temperature of the room going to be?
We all know, like, there's even flows in a season.
Right.
And, 1 week you can have. The worst thing you could be in a football season is on an emotional roller coaster. And there are different styles. Coaches have different styles. I get it. Coach Belichick has been very successful doing it his way. Mike Tomlin has been successful doing it his way. I'll say this. When was the last time the Steelers had like a big time win against the Patriots?
Since Ben's got there, they're 3-7, including the playoffs. 3-7.
It just hasn't happened for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think Mike Tomlin's really trying to shine a spotlight. Like, guys, we haven't beat these guys in a meaningful spot in a while.
Right.
Like, let's get it together. If we could beat this team, think of the momentum. Think of how it would help our psyche going into the postseason, because that's really, the Patriots have really been the Steelers' biggest nemesis as far as getting back to a Super Bowl.
A lot of good games going on this weekend. One involves a quarterback coming back in Aaron Rodgers as the Packers go on to take Carolina. If they lose this game, I think they're going to be done. If they win, they still have a shot. What's your I still like Carolina in this game, even though we've seen Aaron come back from a long layoff the last game of the season against the Bears and destroy them to get into the playoffs. What's your expectation of an Aaron Rodgers coming back?
The one thing I'm going to watch, is he going to be the Aaron Rodgers that we saw pre-injury? Because, he got hurt.
Roll out Rodgers.
Right, exactly, because he got hurt in the Minnesota game doing what he does best, and that's making plays outside the pocket. Now that he's come back from that surgery, are we going to see that same type of guy, or is he going to be more cautious, play from the pocket, which in effect hurts Aaron Rodgers because of his playmaking ability outside the pocket? Again, like you said, I like Carolina's game, their defense, the way they can get after a quarterback, but I'm really interested to see how does Aaron Rodgers play like the Aaron Rodgers that we've been accustomed to seeing.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're coming back, you have to be that guy, right? You have to be all in.
Right.
You have to be the guy that was I don't want to say swashbuckler, but the guy that just can make second-level plays. In other words, the first play's not there. I'm going to use my mobility, because he is sneaky mobile.
Oh, absolutely.
And make that big play normally to Jordy Nelson. And is there any rust factor for you with him? Because the last time we saw him come back from a big layoff, it was, I think, after about the same number of games, 7 or 8. In week 17 of the 2013 season, he threw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns in Chicago, including a 48-yard touchdown strike to Randall Cobb to win the game and win the division. Do you expect there to be any sort of rust from him?
If there's rust from Aaron Rodgers, he's still like a top 5 quarterback.
How about it?
I mean, that's just the way I feel. I've always said that, just all the things that you want your quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, to me is the guy in the National Football League. Right. So even if he comes back a little rusty, he's still good enough to win any game he steps on the field for.
And again, you just got to you got to trust the play calling too. Let him be who he is.
He has to be that way.
Yeah.
Because Damien, as you know, coming back from an injury, there's physically you've rehabbed an injury and the doctor says you can play, and there's mentally going out there and trusting yourself to do everything that you can do on that injury.
Yeah, listen, if I step between the white lines, if I step out there, everything else goes out the window. Excuses, everything. I don't want to hear anything. If you're stepping out there on the field, then the expectation is I'm going to play like the guy that I was before. Right. And that's the bottom line.
And boy, Packer fans love to see that. If they can get by Carolina, then it gets really interesting, although Carolina is going to be a very, very tough opponent. All right. We got that game. We talked about the Steelers and Patriots, which may be for home field advantage in the AFC.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
Rolling through a Friday morning on Golic and Wingo. Glad you're here with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It's been an interesting morning. We've had a lot of discussions about what will happen with LeBron.
Yes, we have.
Whether we would time travel forward or backward in time.
Right.
And what kind of things that you would want to do in terms of camping out because of the Star Wars premiere this weekend, The Last Jedi. What you would wait in line for, and what was the last thing you saw opening weekend? We had some great responses.
Yeah, we have. We really have. At Golic and Wingo for that, or you can go at Wingos or at ESPN Golic. We've really had some good ones about what you would wait in line for. Again, spending the night out sleeping. One of the best ones, dude said he's sleeping in his car to golf with Bethpage Black, because there's no
show and go, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Show up, you get it in the lottery.
We found the one that you would do.
That's exactly right.
I still have not found one that I would spend the night out for tickets for, because we have had all kinds of in-sync concerts, other concerts as well, certain movies or premieres. And then when's the last premiere you've gone to? We've had a couple of nice ones of someone that's gone to every Bonds premiere with his father since the 90s and things like that, because, I mean, going to a premiere, and we're trying to figure out which premiere gets the most costumes. Is it Star Wars, Was it Harry Potter?
What about Star Trek?
Star Trek. You know what else? Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now,
that wasn't just the premiere. That was anytime you went to that.
Where's your neck?
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if that is lost on a whole generation.
I think it is.
Because it's come back a couple of times.
It has, but it hasn't been back for. No. I can't remember the last time it's been back.
Yeah. Rocky Horror Picture Show came out in 1975.
I would love this generation to jump on that bandwagon.
That was a freak show.
But again,
I can't tell you how many times we did that.
We've had a lot of fun, so keep the tweets coming again at Golic and Wingo about all that. We'll keep following through with the Star Wars. You know, it's going to open with just a ridiculous opening again, The Last Jedi until
the next
Jedi.
Until the next Last Jedi comes out. The other Last Jedi. Jedi that you thought was the Last Jedi, but really is.
We forgot about this Jedi. Yeah. He's coming back.
Star Wars, the next one. We replaced the Last Jedi. We left this one over here.
But hey, go see it twice.
Exactly. So lots to get to. A huge football weekend coming up. Plus, Stephen A. Smith will join us in a few minutes as we're getting ready for our ESPN All Access for the big Sixers game tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, as they welcome in the Oklahoma City Thunder as they try and end a 16-game losing streak to them. So we'll get to that, but let's start off this hour with what we normally start off things with.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start off the top with another NBA matchup. Lonzo and the Lakers, LeBron and the Cavs, first meeting ever in the NBA, and LeBron won the battle and the war. 25 points, 12 assists, 12 rebounds to tie Larry Bird for 6th all-time in triple-doubles. Cavs got the win by 9.
Yeah, Lonzo was 2 rebounds short of a triple-double. He went 13, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds in this one. As far as head-to-head, for those that are keeping score, Lonzo Ball was guarded by LeBron James on 10 plays. He did not take a shot or score a point against James. LeBron had that triple-double, as you mentioned, the 59th of his career. He tied Larry Bird for 6th. So, Trey, do you think he needs to move up the ladder? Next in line is Wilt Chamberlain. He needs 20 to pass him. Do you think he'll get 20 more?
Absolutely.
20 more. After that, Russell Westbrook, he won't pass because Russell's going to keep going as well. Jason Kidd then will be back. Jason Kidd is 3rd with 107. So while
not seeing that one,
Westbrook is has a good chance to pass him because Westbrook is 20 away.
Right.
LeBron James is 48 away from Jason Kidd. So I don't see that one.
It took him 15 years to get 59. I don't think he's getting 48.
But it's still ridiculous what he is doing at his age and in this game. So, and everybody talks about the conversation they had with their jerseys up pulled around their mouth after the game, and I don't think it was much more than LeBron throwing out a little bit of sage advice to the youngster.
We good, you good.
I think that's really about all that amounted to.
But as Ramona Shelburne, we're all reading tea leaves.
We
don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We continue
Off the top.
Knicks star Kristaps Porzingis twisted his knee in the first half of the win over the Nets on Thursday, and while he initially continued to play, he eventually asked out in the third quarter. Big concern for the Knicks.
Yeah, he said, I felt my knee buckle a little bit. I felt a little pain there, so it's more about being cautious. I had a little shock pain there. I honestly don't have any information. I tried to run up and down a few times, and it just didn't feel right. I felt that I don't have the strength that I want. It just didn't feel right. Listen, you always hate non-contact.
And you hate hearing the word buckle.
You absolutely do. So we'll see what they go through today, whether it's, x-rays, MRIs, whatever, and you hope it's nothing more, but you just hate the non-contact. MRI is scheduled for today. Thunder at Knicks tomorrow night. Melo's return to the Garden, so we'll see where Porzingis is there.
And again, we'll see how that MRI turns out.
Off the top.
As we said, ESPN's going all access for the 76ers today in advance of the doubleheader that starts with Oklahoma City playing in Philadelphia at 7 on ESPN. Highlights include Stephen A. Smith interviewing Joel Embiid live on First Take, a Doris Burke sit-down with Ben Simmons, and a unique behind-the-scenes access during the game, pre-game, and post-game.
I am just... When I saw the Lakers play last night, I am impressed with their youth and their length, and what they do in the paint is incredible. But this 76ers team with Embiid and Ben Simmons, man, Trey, I tell you, you want to talk about the future being bright. Simmons is averaging better than 17.7 assists and just under 9 rebounds per game. Elias says that the only NBA rookie who ever finished the season with averages of at least 17, 9, and 7 assists per game was the big O, Oscar Robertson, in the 60 season.
Before Westbrook averaged a triple-double.
Yeah, with the Cincinnati Royals. So, this guy is incredible. And here, as far as the game is concerned, you want to talk about polar opposites? According to Second Spectrum, the 76ers lead the NBA in passes made per game with 354. The 76ers assist on 65% of their field goals. On the other side of it, according to Second Spectrum, the Thunder rank last in passes per game, meaning watch for the isolation play, obviously with Oklahoma City, and the ball movement for the 76ers.
So, in other words, that may explain why those three scorers are having trouble getting together.
Trouble.
You might want to move the ball around a little bit. By the way, we talked about a doubleheader in the nightcap at 9:30. The Rockets bring their 11-game winning streak into their matchup with the Spurs. They have not lost with Chris Paul in the lineup this season, 12-0.
Off the top.
And we finish up off the top. Suddenly, the Broncos can't lose.
Well,
8-game losing streak. They've now won 2 in a row. They rallied from down 10-0 to beat the Colts 25-13 behind Brock Osweiler.
Brock Osweiler comes in. Trevor Siemian hurts his non-throwing shoulder. He goes out of the game. Osweiler steps in, runs for a touchdown, a nice run, kind of galloped in to the end zone as a Bronco.
Like a giraffe,
Thank
baby.
you. And then threw for 2. He entered Thursday's game with the worst completion percentage on passes thrown 20 yards downfield in the last 3 seasons. Last night he went 3 for 5 in those passes. And the Colts on the other side, the Colts have 5 losses after leading by double digits.
Wow.
I mean, just can't hang on to the lead at all. As far as the game itself, rushing, the Broncos rushed. C.J. Anderson had a monster game running the ball. And that's what you always talk about with team. They're not living on passing. They need to live on defense and running the ball. It's just not happening for them overall this season. But still, you wonder, I mean, the quarterback situation, I don't think there's any doubt they're going to be moving on, though Brock Osweiler is, hey, you know,
right?
Maybe. If you're not, obviously, any quarterback that plays for Denver right now, you're either playing for Denver or you're playing to transition to another team.
Well, not only that, but you also have Paxton Lynch there. They got to figure out the first-round pick of a few years ago. They got to figure out what they're going to do with him. And with Simeon hurt,
I think they're going to figure out they're not going to play him much.
You don't think they? I think they might have to play him the last 2 weeks of the season if he's healthy
for this year.
Yeah.
The starting quarterback of this team and the team that will lead them back to anything is not on the roster.
Yeah, that's a separate issue.
Yes.
You're exactly right. And they could draft as high as 5.
Yeah.
And McShay has them looking at Josh Hill, the kid out of Wyoming. That would be an interesting. Josh Allen. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That would be an interesting pick there after, squandering. If they do that, you're basically saying the first round pick of Paxton Lynch a couple of years ago wasn't any good.
That's exactly what you're saying, yeah.
So that would be a first round pick twice in 3 years?
That's like the Jets doing it with like second and third rounders and such, but it would be the Broncos doing it with first rounders if they were to move on.
But most importantly, Mike, Adam Vinatieri went 2 for 2 in
there. You go. Needs 3 more, 3 for 3 more, and he's back at 90%. He's back at a $500,000 bonus.
Exactly. So people understand. Yeah. Adam Vinatieri missed a field goal as we finish up off the top. Missed a field goal in that snow game in Buffalo. Understandable, but that dropped him under 90% of field goals made on the year. He has a clause in his contract that allows him to get a $500,000 bonus if he finishes 90% field goals made. He after that miss in Buffalo, he needed to go for 5 for 5. So he's 2 for 2.
Yep.
And he's got another home game again. Boy, I'm telling you, I'd get to 5 for 5 and say, can't do it, man.
Got a toe, got a hammy, got a knee, got something. We'll just know we'll have the Vinatieri watch on this show.
And we will be on it, the oldest player in the league.
We understand the guy is one of the all-time greats. He's made a ton of money, but, it's always nice to make another $500,000.
Yes. What's enough? More is always the way to do it. Here's the interesting thing. He's actually played for the Colts longer than he's played for the Patriots.
Isn't that something?
12 years for the Colts, 10 years for the Patriots. But when you think Adam Vinatieri, what comes first to your mind, Colts or Patriots?
Patriots.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
Absolutely,
Look, the Tuck Rule game.
You got those big kicks in the Super Bowl.
The Tuck Rule game where he made 2 kicks. The one to tie it, by the way, was much more difficult than the one to win it. They were both difficult in the snow. But you're right. Those 3 Super Bowls, people forget this, okay? Every single one of the first 3 Super Bowls that Brady and Belichick won, they were all 3-point games. It was 17-17 in Super Bowl 36 before they went down and kicked that field goal to win it, 20-17 in the last minute. I think his time expired. It might have been a few seconds left. I'm not sure, but I think it was his time expired. Then in Super Bowl 38, it was a 29-29 tie, and then John Casey, the kicker for the Panthers, botched that kick, sent it out of bounds, so they got set up at a short field, and they marched down just in time for him to kick a field goal to put him up 32-29. And then in Super Bowl 39, when they won back-to-back, the last team, by the way, to win back-to-back Super Bowls, was they went up with a field goal to make it 24-14 in the fourth quarter. And then, of course, Eagles scored a touchdown to make it a 3-point game. But all three of those first three Super Bowls into the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady era were decided by an Adam Vinatieri field goal in the fourth quarter.
So I think I'll always be remembered as a Patriot. Much bigger kicks there.
The other thing about the Thursday night game, we don't want to spend a ton of it because it was two teams out of first place, but It is football. That was the Skycam game where most of that game, right?
I love the Skycam game when you see him basically like at just about the all-22.
Right.
Like I love that view. Yeah. Love that view. So I think it's fantastic, and I wish more of the broadcast games would go that route.
What's great about it is you can see from that perspective exactly what the quarterback sees, and then you can see from the defensive perspective exactly how they're reacting to the quarterback. You know who probably didn't like that Skycam last night?
Who's that?
That'd be Trevor Siemian. That first interception.
Oh,
it's just like
that was one of the most. Why are you throwing the ball there? Throws I've ever seen.
I had no idea what he was seeing.
See, I think it is why, and I think it's better in my opinion, for fans of football, because if you want to learn about football,
right,
the best thing to do is don't watch the ball.
Correct.
Watch everything else. And when you have that all-22, you can see things developing. You can kind of know where the ball is. You know it's getting snapped to the quarterback, and you can kind of tell by motion where it's going to go. But, man, to be able to see the entire field and see how what coverage is out there, what kind of routes are developing, the blocking on the line, I think it's fantastic, and I think that angle should be shown a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. I loved it, and I feel bad for Trevor because he hurt that shoulder again. He had surgery in the offseason, but when you see that view – and you see that Demaryius Thomas has two defenders in front of him, unless he just didn't get enough air. He was trying to get it over them.
I don't know what he was trying to do.
But, I mean, that was a dart. There was no arc on that ball, and it threw it right into the defender because they were moving the ball
they were.
On that first series. And then Brandon McManus, they put this up last night. We're talking about Adam Vinatieri. They put it up right before they were going to kick their first field goal. You know, he's 21 of 28 on the field on the year, has not missed yet on the road, 9 for 9. I'm like,
gonna miss.
Announcer kiss of death. And there it goes right. It goes over the right upright. But they came back to win 25-13. All right, Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance. Last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today and find out if you could save. We are gearing up for a big all-access day here on ESPN, getting us set for the big game tonight. Sixers trying to end a 16-game losing streak to Oklahoma City. It's a all-access about Philadelphia getting ready for this game. All over all kinds of platforms, and we're going to do it here on Golic and Wingo as well, as we're delighted to be joined by Stephen A. Smith, who joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line from Philadelphia. Stephen A., we'll get into the game tonight in a little bit, but what was your takeaway from the game that Lonzo played in his first matchup against LeBron last night?
Well, listen, I'm just looking at Lonzo, whether it's a good or a bad game with him. What I take away from anything watching him these days, I'm looking for aggression, guys, and the aggression is inconsistent. The assertiveness is inconsistent. That's what I want to see from him. I don't care how ugly his jump shot is at this particular juncture or what have you. He clearly has a high basketball IQ. He pushes the ball up the floor occasionally. When he does that, he's constantly looking to make the right play. He's a high IQ basketball player, highly intelligent and capable of running a show. But when you're the number 2 overall pick in the draft, you got to accept the responsibility that comes along with being that high of a pick, particularly when it's for the Los Angeles Lakers and specifically the first pick that Magic Johnson has made as president of basketball operations for the franchise. You're the new guy. You're the franchise. You're the face of the franchise. You're the orchestrator of, the reinvigorated Showtime to some degree. You've got to be more assertive. And on too many occasions, I haven't seen that from him. A lot of people look at it and think about folks like myself and others who are critical of his game. It's not the game, for the most part, that we're being critical of, because he still gets rebounds. He still gets assists. He's playing defense better than most of us anticipated. He just needs to get in the weight room and get stronger and obviously improve on his jump shot. We know that. But the one thing that you shouldn't have to prod him to do is to be aggressive and to go after it, particularly the way some of the other guys that got drafted in the first round have been doing, the Jason Tatums, the Aaron Fox, Dennis Smith Jr.'s, Donovan Mitchell's of the world, even Markkanen in Chicago and others. those guys have been going after it. You're the number 2 overall pick for the Los Angeles Lakers. You got to be more aggressive, and that's been his problem more than anything else.
Yeah, there's a talk of such nice passes to his teammates when he has the shot. Is it everybody focusing on the nice pass, or should we be focused on maybe he's lacking that confidence to be taking the shot for where it's going right now as part of it as well? As far as games at the Garden, we just saw Oklahoma City go to Indiana, and we saw Paul George get booed at introduction every time he touched the ball. We know the situation with Carmelo in New York and Phil Jackson and how that all went down. What do you expect that reception to be like for Carmelo when he goes back to New York?
I think it's going to be much better than the reception Paul George received in Indiana, because he wanted to leave Indiana. He wanted out. He wanted to be in a better situation, even though in the very tail end, that's exactly what Carmelo Anthony wanted. For the most part, you had to push and prod Melo to get to that point, because he wanted to retire a New York Knick. He loved playing at the Garden. He loved representing the Knicks franchise. And Phil Jackson was so flagrant in his sabotage of Carmelo Anthony last year that Carmelo Anthony actually became a sympathetic figure. Phil Jackson talking to the media in September and then disappearing until April, using tweets to get at Carmelo and others, constantly leaving Carmelo Anthony to hang out being dry, where night in, night out, he was the one forced to answer questions that Phil Jackson should have been answering. He essentially devalued Carmelo Anthony to the point where when I spoke to Knick officials talking about why you couldn't get more for the services of a Carmelo Anthony, one of the things people privately lamented was the fact that he had been so devalued by Phil Jackson because of Phil Jackson's rhetoric that people were saying, hell no, we're not going to give you but so much for this guy because of the way Phil Jackson talked about him, because obviously as president of basketball operations at the time, Phil Jackson had insight that other people didn't have, and he was unapologetic about the way he approached, addressing it. And so with that in mind, New York Knicks fans recognize that. They also remember that Carmelo Anthony had to be pushed and prodded to ultimately reach a point where he was willing to leave. This is a guy that wanted desperately to stay in New York and to be a New York Knick. If he had his druthers, he would have retired a New York Knick. But it didn't work out that way, and they're not going to blame him in terms of him wanting to leave. They might get on him because he wasn't as good as they would have liked him to be in terms of impact and as it pertains to their success or lack thereof. But he was a guy that wanted to stay in town. They're always going to remember that about Carmelo Anthony, and he's always going to be welcomed by New York Knicks fans because of that reality alone.
Stephen A. Smith with us on Golic and Wingo. Starting on January 2nd, the Stephen A. Smith Show will be heard nationally on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app from 1 to 3. All right, Stephen A., you're in Philadelphia for part of our All Access with the 76ers as they try and end a 16-game losing streak to Oklahoma City. You're going to be interviewing Sixer star Joel Embiid coming up on First Take. What are the things you want to get out of Joel as we get set for this All Access tonight?
And I'm just looking forward to talking to him. Apparently, initially we were going to talk to Ben Simmons as well. And from what I'm told by, because I covered the Sixers for so many years, working for the Philadelphia Inquirer for 17 years, I was told that Joel Embiid specifically asked to sit down with me. So evidently he's going to get at me because he wants to address the process or my feelings about the process. Well, he can do that. I'm looking forward to that conversation. But also, he's arguably the best big man in basketball. He's incredibly gifted in an era where it's clearly become a guard-oriented game. He still manages to fit right in because of the arsenal that he has on the offensive side of the ball. He's just a sensational young player with tremendous promise. If he can only stay healthy, the sky's the limit. He's simply that great of a basketball player, and his potential is off the charts. But I'm going to talk to him about that. I'm going to talk to him about, where he wants to rank or where he believes he can ultimately end up ranking with the pantheon of big men throughout NBA history. From, you're talking about the Russells, the Chamberlains, the Jabbars, the Shaquille O'Neals of the world. And here this guy comes, and you just got to look at it from that perspective. Olajuwon as well. Can't forget to throw him in there. You got to wonder who he models his game after, what kind of potential he believes he has, and what kind of potential he believes this franchise has with the combination of him and Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons is the truth, fellas. If this guy develops a jump shot, we can talk about the heir apparent to LeBron James, who's in his 15th season in the NBA, but I'm here to tell you something right now. If Ben Simmons gets a jump shot, he'd be the closest thing to what we see from LeBron on a night-in, night-out basis, because at 6'10", with his ball handling and passing skills, literally playing the point for the Philadelphia 76ers, there's just no limit to what they could end up potentially accomplishing if his game continues to flourish.
Well, listen, it's been fun to watch not only Simmons but Joel Embiid, and we'll see what the process has for you on First Take. Steve, we appreciate you being with us. Thanks very much.
David.
No problem, fellas.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. Make sure to subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, and to listen every weekday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app.